Go to unplugged.whirlwind.com, and for only $2.99 a year or $34 a month, you get the lowest price tee time that day for any time you choose. You can save anywhere between 15 to 60%. Terms and conditions apply. Go to unplugged.whirlwind.com and feel the wind.
Thanks for listening, Unplugged Army. I'm Louis Unga, General Manager at Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. We're proud to present Doug Franz Unplugged.
Form an offense.
Form an offense.
4 minutes.
Form an offense. Form an offense.
Everything you need to know in sports that affects Maricopa County, the state of Arizona, and the world, you get in 4 minutes. We start things off in downtown Phoenix. Diamondbacks sweep the St. Louis Cardinals 7-3 on Friday behind Brandon Pfaadt's 7 innings of shutout baseball. Crush them 10-1 on Saturday thanks to Suarez going yard twice and Corbin Carroll having 2 triples. Then on Sunday they win 5-3. Carroll has another triple and Suarez goes yard 2 more times. Manager Torey Lovello.
We all know how important the series was. We talked about it as far back as that workout on the off day, and our guys came out and responded. I'm really proud of them for that. They're a group that is very hungry. They want to go out and play their best baseball, and this was not only a very important series, it was a very important game.
Other D-backs news. MLB.com first to report that the Diamondbacks have reached an agreement with both of their first 2 picks in last weekend's MLB draft. Kason Cunningham, a San Antonio High School shortstop, gets full slot money. Patrick Forbes, Louisville pitcher, got $191,000 less than slot. Diamondbacks sit 4.5 games out of the playoffs. They still have to climb over 4 teams to get there. Cardinals, Reds, Padres, Giants. Tonight it's the 3rd best team in the American League. Houston's in town. Zach Gallen goes against Colton Gordon. Gordon's 3-2 with a 4.67 ERA. Gallen is 7-10 with a 5.40 ERA. Zach will throw the first pitch downtown, 6:40. Suns ended the Summer League with a win over Portland, 111-87. However, I admit, didn't really pay much attention. Rasheer Fleming had 8 points and 3 rebounds, but other than that, it was a bunch of guys that probably won't be Suns. Malawach, Iguodaro, Dunn, and Brea all sat out for rest, and mostly to avoid injury. Are you ready for some football? The Cardinals begin checking into the Wigwam Resort in Litchfield today. They report to training camp tomorrow. First practice is coming up on Wednesday. They play the Chiefs at home to start the preseason schedule in just 2.5 weeks. The Rising won at El Paso 7-6 in PKs after the game ended in a 2-2 draw, but that's for the Jägermeister Cup, which is an in-season tournament. The actual regular season resumes coming up Wednesday at Orange County. Kickoff at 7 o'clock. Not good news, bad news, but kind of medium news, good news for Rattlers fans. Arizona barely beat one of the worst teams in the league, 41-39 on the road at San Antonio. So that's the medium news. The good news, they clinched their 16th straight season of going to the playoffs. San Antonio missed a field goal at the end of the game to ice it. Now the Rattlers go to San Diego to end the regular season. Winner of the game gets home field advantage in the first round of the playoffs. Kickoff Sunday night at 6. Scotty Scheffler did it again. 3 under par 68 on Sunday to finish at 17 under with a 4-shot win and taking home the Claret Jug as the Open champion. It's also his 2nd major this year. How do you compare it to winning at the PGA Championship, Scotty?
This one was different than the PGA in terms of, had a decent lead to start the day, but PGA I felt like I struggled a bit on the front 9 and then was able to kind of push forward and win it on the back 9, whereas this one I felt like I built up a lead. It got a little close there after the double on 8, but like I said, bounced back on 9 and was able to keep a pretty sizable lead for most of the day.
Up next is Ryder Cup starting September 26th. And finally, now this one doesn't seem very well thought out. Meet Steven Nasson of Bangor, Maine. If you found Steven at 4 a.m. sitting on the chimney of your home, what would be the last thing you would give him? How about an axe? Peter Reardon's girlfriend woke him up at about 3:45 in the morning because she heard loud noises on the roof. When he went to the backyard, he found a ladder. He called up to Steven and asked, "What are you doing?" And Steven said he's trying to get the drugs out of the chimney. Well, obviously, Peter quickly called police. When the Bangor Fire Department and police responded to the call, they tried to coax Steven to come down off the roof. They lifted up the fire basket at the top of the ladder attached to the fire truck to get him down. But they forgot to take their fire axe out of the basket. Peter jumped off the chimney into the basket, grabbed the axe, and then jumped back onto the roof. Well, now that he's got the axe, he thinks he's got an easier way to get to the drugs that are supposedly in the chimney that really aren't there. Fire Chief Jeffrey Lowe said, "We wouldn't have expected that. It's nothing we would pre-plan. We certainly don't train for that. It happened, and it was unexpected. The consequence of trying to do something good for him." The standoff lasted until 11:30 in the morning before Stephen finally surrendered his position on the chimney. He's charged with aggravated criminal mischief, creating a police standoff, and as you would guess, violating probation. However, he was sent to the local hospital for the mental health evaluation before any of the charges continue. Again, the fire chief, though, quote, "We wouldn't have expected that." What did you think when you give the guy an axe? Hey, I got an idea. Whenever you send a basket up to pick up a guy with no shoes on, no shirt on, that's sitting on a chimney of a house he doesn't own, let's make sure there are no axes in the basket.
Bell's isn't your typical country bar with mediocre bar food. We are a scratch kitchen with chef-inspired dishes in the only place you can get the best sandwich in all of Arizona, our Nashville hot chicken sandwich. Come in for Whiskey Wednesdays to learn about and drink our famous whiskey selection. We have live music most days and all weekend as part of our honky tonk brunch.
Bell's Nashville Kitchen on Main Street in Old Town Scottsdale.
You found home, down home.
Wow. It is so weird to get back in the saddle again. I revealed a portion of my personality this past week, that I knew existed, but it was hard to come to grips again. I can't do anything halfway, whether it's this show, my life, or vacation. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever it is that you've decided to make Doug Franz Unplugged a part of your day, my family greatly appreciates it. My name is Doug Franz, and you have found the only podcast in the world totally devoted to the coverage of the 4 major sports franchises of one great American city that drops on your phone each and every weekday morning. We also cover ASU, U of A, GCU, the Rattlers, the Rising, and the Merc. This is Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. How are you? What I meant by the intro was I had these plans that it was going to be work, and a little bit of golf. It turned into golf, and a little bit of work. It was, it's something about me. I'm all in. No matter what I do, I'm all in. I'm all in for you in this show. I'm all in as a dad. I'm all in as a husband. I try to be all in religiously. And when it comes to vacation, I'm the same way. I'm all in. So I did spend a little bit of time working. So I'm happy I got some stuff done. I did advance a little bit on learning video. I spent some time on it. Hopefully you enjoyed my Out of Nowhere show on Wednesday that I aired for Thursday, when I interviewed my good friend Brandon, who is the one that gives me lessons at Whirlwind. I learned how to do that on video. So I got a little things done. And then it was basically, though, I just went all in on vacation. I just said, you know what? I know I need the rest, relaxation, spent a lot of time with Jennifer. Didn't get to spend that much time with the youngest. Intern McKenna was hiking through California last weekend, but I got to spend some good time with the oldest, Vienna. So I was happy. Had a happy weekend. Lost twice to the evil arch rival Zach, so that kind of stunk. But, all in all, good week. So I'm excited. Really excited for Friday. Coming up on Friday, I am going to a sports bar with, you know what? I already knew where we were going, but I might change my idea and go. I think we probably have more room to spread out if we went to 100 Mile Brew. So I think I'm going to go to 100 Mile Brew on Friday. We'll see. But I'm going out to dinner with Cam Cox of 12 News and we're going to work on learning video. And he's just going to sit down. We're going to basically produce a 4-minute offense together. So I'm kind of looking forward to that and spending that time with him. Lots of meetings this week, a lot of things to do. Got a lunch appointment on Monday and Tuesday back to back at 100 Mile Brewing. And then on Wednesday, I will be, hopefully, I haven't set this up for sure, but I want to bring, if you remembered Richard and Brad, who used to join us from time to time to talk fantasy football, I'd really like to have those guys back on again this year. So quite a few months ago, we scheduled lunch for this Wednesday. And I don't know if they remember, but I'm hoping that they do. And if they do, we'll have them on coming up on Wednesday, or I'll meet them at Bell's and talk to them about the season. And hopefully that goes great. And if it does, we're set. We're set. Here we go. Get fired up. And football, in a sense, starts Wednesday as far as practices are concerned. And then coming up in a week and a half is the Hall of Fame game. And then the Cardinals start coming up 2 weeks from Saturday with their home game against the Chiefs. I mean, it seems like it takes forever, and then here we go. Oh, and by the way, I did have to sing Moon River on Sunday. On Friday. And that went, it's weird. The Thursday was horrible. I can't stand the prep for your colonoscopy. That's just gross. So I couldn't stand Thursday. I was miserable Thursday, but the procedure itself was pretty simple. I even golfed on Friday afterwards. The doc didn't really love that idea. He was pretty cool. They found 2 polyps and cut them both out, said they're benign. So now I'm 2 for 2 on those things. I've had 2 colonoscopies, and each time they found 2 polyps, and both times they were not malignant. And so then it's over, and I told the doc, okay, obviously I'm probably going to do it no matter what you say, but I just wanted to know, it says on here, I'm not allowed to lift anything over 10 pounds after the colonoscopy, and my golf club, the bag weighs more than 10 pounds, but that'll just be on the golf cart. And the clubs don't weigh, one club weighs less than 10 pounds. And he started laughing and he goes, you know what? If you lived in somewhere colder, I wouldn't really have an issue with you doing this. The problem is you're going to be really dehydrated, and that's not a good idea in Arizona to go golfing and be dehydrated. And I said, I know what I'm doing. I'll be fine. He goes, I don't recommend this. But he didn't throw a fit. So I went, and I did feel it, I admit. But just had an extra Gatorade, sucked it up, shot a 98. So, I broke 100. Anytime I break 100, I'm happy about that. So that was my week. What'd you do? I missed you all week. Thanks for giving me that time off. I really appreciate it. And now we're ready for football season. Get fired up. All right, time for Doug's big one. It's my number one opinion of the day. Let's roll. Doug.
Where's Doug? Here, sorry, Doug. Where you at?
Obviously, Franz is such a good player.
Doug's big one. I'm not doubling down on this opinion. I'm tripling down on this opinion as I make up a phrase. The Arizona Diamondbacks need to be sellers at the trade deadline. And I don't like how a lot of the media is going to be, let me say this, how I think it's going to react. I think a lot of the radio talk shows, I think my old station probably issued an edict that everybody has to have the opinion, go D-backs. And I bet there's going to be a lot of TV talking heads that are going to say how exciting it is that they swept the Cardinals and how this team needs to get fired up and they can make a run and they can do this and they can do that. Okay, great. I'm an enormous Diamondbacks fan. But when I sit here and talk to you, I have to use logic, and I'm not allowed to be a fan. Because being a fan means ignore reality and just enjoy it. And just love it. And ride the ups and downs of the season. That's what it means to be a fan, and that's a good thing. Please be a great fan. However, when I talk to you, I can't be a fan. I've got to just tell it to you straight. And I think it's an enormous mistake by Mike Hazen to the point that it's a fireable offense if he decides to be a buyer at the trade deadline and this team does not make the playoffs. It's too big of a mistake. You can't lose Suarez and Gallen and Kelly and Josh Naylor for nothing. Now, first, let's set up what you get if you keep them. The way that the Major League Baseball free agency works is the Diamondbacks will have the right to give a qualifying offer to a player. And if that player turns down the qualifying offer, then that player becomes a free agent and that player can sign somewhere else and you get draft pick compensation based on how much he signed for. One of the rules about making a qualifying offer, though, is you can't make a qualifying offer to any player who's already received a qualifying offer at one point in their career. So nobody can get two qualifying offers. So keep that in mind. Once you've had a qualifying offer, you're never allowed to have another qualifying offer. It doesn't matter which team gave it to you. That doesn't mean the Diamondbacks can give somebody a qualifying offer, like, say, they've never given one to Suarez, so they're allowed to give Eugenio Suarez a qualifying offer. No. Truth is, I don't know if Suarez has ever received a qualifying offer, but he's been in the league long enough that I'm going to assume he has, but I don't know. But Merrill Kelly, Zach Gallen, and Josh Naylor, I'm going to say this is their first foray into free agency. So I'm going to assume that they have never been given, or I know this, that they've never been given a qualifying offer. And I'm going to bet there's a chance Suarez, now that I think of it, Suarez signed a new deal while he was still a Red, but it wasn't like he didn't hit free agency and then re-sign with the Reds. He signed a long-term deal while he was a Red and is still living off of that contract. There's a chance he hasn't ever been offered a qualifying offer. So what does that mean then? That would mean you're allowed to get compensatory picks. Now, the Arizona Diamondbacks have so far seem to do a really good job in the draft. The maximum amount of compensatory picks you're allowed to earn in 1 year is 4. So the Diamondbacks could give a qualifying offer to all 4 guys at the end of the year. And if all 4 guys sign a contract of over $50 million, the Diamondbacks get 4 first-round picks. Now, when I say first round, every team would draft, including the Diamondbacks, once. And then the first round ends, and then it's time for the compensatory picks. And then the Diamondbacks would get 4 of them. So that might be what the Diamondbacks are doing. I still, listen, I think that they're great at the draft, but I am not doing it for one player, 1 for 1. Okay, what does that mean? So let's say you lose Josh Naylor. You offer him the qualifying offer. He signs somewhere else, doesn't stay, and therefore you get 1 draft pick. Versus you trade Josh Naylor, and now you get 3 players. And you've also scouted the 3 players. You've seen the 3 players. You've got professional statistics on the 3 players. I think your odds of hitting on a trade, getting multiple players, is much better than the odds of nailing the draft pick that you get as far as compensation is concerned. That's why I'm saying trade them. Don't just rely on the qualifying offer and rely on the draft pick compensation. I think that's a mistake versus a trade. Now, you might ask, well, why are you non-believing? Why do you think the Diamondbacks, coming off a sweep when they fought their way back to 500, why do I believe they should sell as a 50-50 team. I'm going by basic math. You have to pass the Cardinals, you have to pass the Reds, you have to pass the Giants, and you have to pass the Padres just to make the playoffs. Well, take for an example the Padres. The Padres are the last wild card team right now. So to go to the playoffs, you have to pass them. The Padres in their last 10 games have gone 6-4. The incredibly hot Arizona Diamondbacks have gone 6-4. So in the last 10 games, the Diamondbacks have made up 0 ground on the San Diego Padres. And again, I'm using the Padres as the bar, but keep in mind, obviously the Mets or the Brewers / Cubs or Phillies, one of those teams could go into a swoon, or the Padres could go into a swoon, and that lowers the bar. That makes it easier to get into the playoffs. Unfortunately, the opposite could happen too. Cardinals, Reds, Giants could all get hot. And now you're chasing that team. But for all intents and purposes, you've got to get above the Padres. So if you've got to get above the Padres, let's just say they go 500 the rest of the way. Technically, they've got more games than that. They've got 63 games. So let's say they go 32-31. All right. If they go 32-31, the Diamondbacks have to play 12 games above 500 the rest of the way. That does not count the 3 games against the Cardinals. Those are already gone. From this point forward, they have to play 12 games above 500 to make the playoffs. You explain to me when it was there was a stretch of games for the Diamondbacks that lasted 2 whole weeks, that this year's team, you say, they can play 12 games above 500. And keep in mind, that's just the Padres going basically 500. If the Padres play at the same clip they're playing now, right now they're 9 games above 500. If the Padres continue that for the rest of the season, they would be 36-27 the rest of the way. That equals a 90-win season. That means the Diamondbacks have to get above them. That means the Diamondbacks would have to go 41-22 the rest of the way. 41-22. Almost 20 games above 500 to catch a Padres team that would just keep playing at the same level they're at. Not improve, but not get worse. So when I look at those numbers, a 500 Padre team, the Diamondbacks have to go 12 games above 500 the rest of the way. A Padres team that stays consistent where they are, the Diamondbacks would have to go 41-22. I'm looking at those numbers and saying it's not realistic for a team with this bullpen to do it. Of course, if the starting pitching continues to go 6 and 7 innings and not giving up runs, yeah, they can do it. But you're not going to get me to believe in that bullpen. You're not going to get me to believe they're going to keep playing the way they did this weekend. It was fun. It was great. It was good baseball. They did a lot of things right. And if you say, Doug, that's who this team is, that's them for real, I can understand why you're excited. I'm just not buying it for 3 games when we only have this amount of time to work. And you've got the Astros, who are the 3rd best team in the American League. You've got the Tigers, who are the best team in baseball, coming up in 6 of the next 9 games. I'm not buying it. I'm still selling. And I hope you see I'm not being negative Nancy. I'm just looking at reality. I'm looking at the numbers. Pretty soon, I'm going to talk about the games, and I'm going to celebrate the way they played. I'm going to celebrate the games. I'm going to be excited about the way they played. But my job right now, Doug's big one, my number one opinion, is that sweep changes nothing. You still have the same record over the last 10 games as the Padres do, and you still have a monumental climb Everybody likes to look at the games back and say, hey, they're only 4.5 back. The problem with saying they're only 4.5 back is you're assuming all the other teams are going to start losing. I just like to say, hey, if this team goes 500, what do you have to do to catch them? That's the reality. And if you say you want Mike Hazen to buy, I say, why mortgage the future on this team this year without Corbin Burns? Do you really think they're going to make a strong postseason run? I think we all learned something in the 2023 run to the World Series, right? We did. And that this can be, oh, actually, now that 2023 run to the World Series, it takes a while to do the math right. In the 2023 World Series, they were by far not the best team going into the postseason, but they were the best team in the postseason, except arguably the Rangers, but the best team in the National League. You don't win game 6 and 7 on the road in the NLCS as a fluke. You don't sweep the Dodgers as a fluke. 3 games, a sweep is not a fluke. That was real. They deserve all the credit in the world for that. And so I get it. If you want to say, hey, just get us in, okay. But you cannot make the mistake of going for it, not getting in, and losing these players. Draft picks aren't enough. It's not worth the risk. Well, I admit, if this team sweeps the Astros, sweeps the Tigers, and sweeps the Pirates, yes, I will be singing a different tune if they're on a 13-game winning streak, the bullpen starts pitching well, and the starters continually pitch deep into the 7th or 8th inning. Yes, I will say, you know what? I was wrong. I'm glad they didn't sell. But I'm telling you, if there is an offer, here's why I'm so concerned about it. Imagine if there's an offer on the table right now. There's some guy in New York that's claiming there's an offer on the table right now from the Yankees in order to get Suarez and Jalen Beeks. Okay? Just some guy. I have zero idea what his credentials are. Okay? Just some guy. That's what he's reporting. But here's the only reason why I bring it up. Suarez is having such an incredible season that I do believe there's going to be a bidding war. And you dictate the terms. Okay? However, what if you're looking at a franchise like the Yankees and you're looking at their 2 best prospects and you just say, okay, here's the situation. You can have Suarez and I take those 2 guys. And the Yankees say, no, then fine, I don't do it. What I don't want to find out is that there is a team with an incredible offer sitting on the table, and Mike Hazen is waiting to see, are the Diamondbacks going to make a run? And he sits on it. And then Eugenio Suarez gets hit in the hand, like we've never seen that happen last Tuesday. He gets hit in the hand, gets hit in the elbow, he gets hit by a pitch, and now he's out for 6 weeks. And you had the chance to trade him, but no, you wanted to wait till the last minute to see if a 50-50 ball club with a bad bullpen that has had a history this season, a track record of 100 games of throwing to the wrong base, of not understanding good base running, of not making good defensive plays, of bad or poor at-bats. And you're going to say, no, I'm going to give them 2 more weeks. I'm fine if you haven't traded Suarez because he's so hot that you don't think teams have come with the right price tag. There's nothing wrong with elevating the price for Eugenio Suarez every 2 home run game he has. That's fine. But what I'm afraid of is they're going to sit on a deal because they want to wait and see how does the team play. And this team has not earned that right to me. Don't sit on a great deal. You get a great deal, you take it. And that's Doug's big one. I hope you don't mind, but for today's quick comment about Santan Ford, and I say I hope you don't mind because you're going to hear it tomorrow on Town Hall Tuesday. I just want to read you a quick email from Greg H9. It says, Doug, thanks for connecting us to Linda, who is awesome to work with. My wife is very happy with her 2022 Edge Titanium. I got to see firsthand everything you've referenced about Santan Ford. Great experience. And for any member of the Unplugged Army looking for a vehicle, this should be their first and likely last stop in their vehicle search journey. Thanks again. Can't say it enough. Santan Ford, 202 in Val Vista. I am Santan Ford. Go to santanford.com. Want to do a deep dive into the weekend games, but before I do that, I got to tell you, in that quick second there when I had to stop the tape, stop the recording, I ran to the bathroom, and I just want to make an announcement that our Black Cherry Merlot hand soap is running very low, but we already have in reserve the Mango Papaya Paradise foaming hand soap ready to go, actually sitting right behind the Black Cherry Merlot at the sink. So there's your soap update. We can't just have cheap hand soap. We need the Mango Papaya Paradise. Obviously, the Black Cherry Merlot didn't cut it, and now it's been cut from the rotation, unless it's more of a Black Cherry Merlot is more of a spring soap. And now that we're into the meat of the summer, it's time to go to the Mango Papaya Paradise. I don't know what the winter selection will be. Something peppermint, I'm assuming. So Diamondbacks a winner Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday, Brandon fought 7 innings pitched, no earned runs. Adrian Del Castillo gets called up, and Torey Lovello says the catcher's getting called up simply because he's hot. He's just too hot, and he's mostly going to be the lefty DH, and then and it's a little bit because of Pavin Smith's oblique injury, and Del Castillo immediately goes up and goes 3 for 4 and looks great. And then we went 2 for 4 on Saturday when the Diamondbacks won 10-1. Starting pitching for the weekend. Fought, I just told you, 7 innings, no earned runs. Saturday, Ryan Nelson, 6 innings, 1 earned run. Merrill Kelly, 6 innings yesterday, 2 earned runs. So fantastic starting pitching. One aspect, though, out of all the 3 games, I got one big beef, and I don't know why Torey did this. I really don't like this. Woodford is a guy that's not going to get a lot of great stats. And Woodford had 2 outs in the 9th inning, nobody on, 1 out away from a save, and got taken out of the lineup, or got pulled from the game. That bugs me. Listen, it's team over individual all the time. Team. But it's kind of a cheesy part of the rule, I admit. But if you get the last 9 outs of the game, if you pitch the last 9 outs, you get a save, as long as you never lost the lead. So even though it was a 10-1 game, he's going to get the save. He's at 2 2/3 of an inning. He needs 1 more out to get the save. Nobody's on base. He's not in any trouble. And I really don't like the fact that Torey Lovello pulled him. I thought that was a really cheeseball move. Now, Backus hasn't had any work. It was a good matchup for Backus. And honestly, Backus came in and got beat up pretty good with a single and an error, and then he got the last out of the inning on a ground out. So I'm just complaining that if you're going to bring Woodford in and allow him to go 2 2/3, at least let somebody on base before you pull him. I don't care that you want to get Backus in the game. If you wanted to pitch Backus the entire 9th inning, I'm not really going to complain about it. I'll bring it up, say, yeah, that's kind of crappy, but I'll get over it. But to let him start the 9th inning, get 2 outs in the 9th inning on 2 batters, and the last one being a Nolan Arenado strikeout, and then you decide, it's time to bring in Backus. That was crappy. I was not at the presser. I was not at the game. I'm kind of half paying attention because it was a vacation day. I don't want to act like I'm all knowing. But that's just wrong. That's the only word I can think of. It's just wrong to take away that opportunity for the save. Perdomo was an amazing in this series. He went 3 for 5 with 4 RBIs on Saturday. But this was about Suarez and Carroll. Although Corbin was terrible on Friday, Corbin went 2 for 4 yesterday. He went 3 for 5 on Saturday. He had 3 triples over the weekend, which is insane. And then there's Eugenio Suarez. He went 5 for 10 this weekend. 4 of the 5 hits were home runs. He had 7 RBIs, and he even walked twice. That's crazy. That's crazy how hot he is. What was amazing to me, though, it was little things that I've been losing my mind about all year that they were actually doing in this game, or in some of these games. Take for an example yesterday. This really got me jacked up. When you take extra bases at any moment all the time. That is great baseball. Blaze Alexander did something on Saturday, and it's these little things that matter to me, that show me you're engaged, you're looking for an edge, and at any moment you're trying to do winning things. Diamondbacks are up 3-0 going into the second inning, but let's face it, we've already learned from this bullpen, there's no way you should be comfortable with a 3-0 lead. Alec Thomas leads off the inning with a double. Blaze Alexander RBI single, so it's 4-0 D-backs. Runner on first, nobody out, top of the second inning. Corbin Carroll, deep fly ball to center field. Now, if that ball gets over the head of the center fielder, then Blaze Alexander needs to score on that. If he doesn't and he just gets to third, you can kind of give him a break with nobody out. But I don't want to call it lazy, but the standard thing to do is you go halfway, you wait and see if it's caught. If it is, you run back to first. If it isn't, you immediately go past second base, get yourself to third, and if it takes a crazy bounce, maybe you even try to score. But Blaze Alexander probably did his homework, because the center fielder for the Cardinals, Victor Scott, is lightning quick. So he noticed Victor Scott had a bead on the ball, and Blaze Alexander obviously didn't think it was going to be a home run or go off the wall. Once, as he's focused and watching and realizes Scott's going to catch it, he gets himself back to first base and tags up on Victor Scott's arm. You don't normally tag up from first base for a really simple reason. You're running towards the outfielder. When you tag up and go to third, or you tag up and go home, you're in a sense running away from the outfielder. So of course there's times that people get thrown out, but when you're running away from the outfielder, it's to your advantage. You're now running towards second base. This throw is that much shorter. So you normally don't do it. But he made such an aggressive move, got himself to second. Well, then Geraldo Perdomo comes up, gets an RBI single because there's Blaze Alexander. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. made the second out with a strikeout, Josh Naylor made the third out with a strikeout. So if you follow the inning, now granted, we don't know if the pitches would have been the same to Gurriel and Naylor in different situations. But if we just play the game, if Blaze Alexander doesn't do that tag up, he's still on first with one out. Perdomo gets a base hit. There's now runners on first and second with one out. Gurriel strikes out, Naylor strikes out, innings over, no extra run. Yes, the Diamondbacks won the game 10-1. It ended up not mattering. I'm not saying that was a make or break portion of the game, but it puts more pressure on the Cardinals. And in a game when you know Sonny Gray is a good pitcher, you ate him up. You're in his head. You're in every player's head. Every moment of every game, Cardinals, we're coming at you. And we're going to be successful. Those are the things I've been screaming about all year. When you think I'm being weird for little baseball things. Like, Doug, why does that matter? It's little moments like that that show you the team is engaged, the team's paying attention, and the team truly fights for everything. And that's what these guys did. And they did it basically every game for once. And that hasn't happened a lot. That hasn't happened a lot at all. And they end up sweeping the Cardinals, who are a pretty decent team, and obviously this year better than the Diamondbacks. They're still better than the Diamondbacks record-wise. They're a game above them in the standings. Actually, I think I have that right, if I'm not mistaken off the top of my head, and I don't have the standings pulled up. But I believe it's Diamondbacks 4.5 back, Cardinals 3.5 back, and then Reds and Giants both tied at 2.5 back. So you've got to pass all of them, and then you're finally nipping on the Astros. Or the Astros, that's who they play next. You're nipping on the Padres, but you've got to catch them, and you're 4.5 behind the Padres. Here's Torey Lovullo after the game with a weird comment about where they stand, and I can't explain it because I don't understand what he meant.
We all know how important the series was. We talked about it as far back as that workout on the off day, and our guys came out and responded, and I'm really proud of them for that. They're a group that is very hungry. They want to go out and play their best baseball, and this was not only a very important series, it was a very important game. You know, you make up 3 spots with one extra win here. So at the end of it, it feels good. I want these guys to enjoy it.
I think this is some kind of weird UCLA math. Can you figure this out? Please email Town Hall Tuesday if you understand what that meant.
You know, you make up 3 spots with one extra win here.
You make up 3 spots with 1 extra win. Well, if he means positions in the standings, they haven't moved. They still have to climb 4 teams to get to the playoffs. So the number 3 doesn't apply there. If he means you move up 3 extra spots with 1 win, he might be referring to whenever you win a 3-game series, whenever you take 2 out of 3, you only move up 1 game because your win and their win to start the series cancels each other out. Then you win game 3. So even though you won the series 2-1, you've only gained 1 game in the standings. So I kind of think what he's trying to say is you move up 3 spots by this 1 game, meaning you've gained 3 games on the Cardinals versus just gaining 1 game on the Cardinals.
You know, you make up 3 spots with 1 extra win here.
So there's a lot of good stuff there. The numbers right now for some of these guys, it's really crazy to look at for a second. For an example, Perdomo right now had another RBI yesterday. I remember when I was a kid, it felt like 100 RBIs was incredible when somebody did that in a season. The idea of a shortstop doing it when I was a kid was like impossible until Cal Ripken Jr. Perdomo has 72 RBIs this year. In 100 games, he's got 72 RBIs. That puts him on a pace for something just under 120 RBIs, about 116, 117 RBIs. From Geraldo Perdomo, even though Corbin Carroll's batting average is pretty weak, at 248. He's now at 21 home runs and 48 RBIs. And then, of course, there's Suarez, which is just insane. Suarez has 35 home runs. Suarez has 85 RBIs. 85. I mean, come on. If you care about that math, that's about 135, 136 RBIs this year. If you project it out for the rest of the season. Meaning if you can pull off getting 82 RBIs in a 100-game season, how many would you have in a 162-game season? About 136. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. And even Blaze Alexander is up to 240 after kind of stinking up the joint. It actually frustrates me more than thrills me, because I do think this team should have been fighting like this all year, and they just didn't have it in spring, coming out of spring training. They just thought, hey, we only missed the playoffs by a tiebreaker last year. We were a World Series team the year before. It'll click, it'll go. And they just don't have the intensity or a great leader that says, this isn't good enough. Let's go. And I've loved watching Mark Grace on post games and watching his frustration this year. Because he seems like he's the only one wearing Diamondbacks gear that gets it sometimes. At least my opinion. All right, coming up next. Got a lot of little things to talk about. And then I think you'll be really motivated listening to Scotty Scheffler. That's next. This is Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. You know what time it is. It's summer in Arizona. You've got to have the Parker & Sons phone number ready to go. Air conditioning in Phoenix is too important to trust anybody but the best. Parker & Sons were recommended to us when we first moved here. That was 17 years ago. They've been on time every time. They've gotten it right the first time every time. Call 602-2REPAIR. That's 602, the number 2, then REPAIR for Parker & Sons.
It's big, it's juicy, it's meaty. Get your burrito at Burrito Express. If you're having a hangover, a bad day, even a good day, still get your burrito at Burrito Express. It will make you feel better.
Hope you don't mind, but a quick free plug for Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass, because maybe it's not a place, that was good, that you can afford to go to very often. And I get that. Golf can be expensive. But this is the time of year. Oh my gosh. Like if you want to play tomorrow, but you don't want to get up, too quickly, sleep in a little bit, you can play for $79 until 10:30 in the morning. You can play for only $74 after 10:30. And if you don't mind waiting until after 2 o'clock, you have plenty of daylight to play after 2. And it's only $59. To get on a course that magical for $59, that's insane. And oh, by the way, keep in mind, that has nothing to do with Whirlwind Plus. If you're a Whirlwind Plus member right now, like the 7:21 tee time tomorrow morning, that's $89. But if you are a Whirlwind Plus member, you pay $59. You just saved $30. And by the way, the deal costs $33 a month. The first time you do it, you're going to save $30. Play twice in the same month, you've already paid for it. There are a couple terms and conditions. If you can't sign up for just 1 month, right? If you join in on Whirlwind Plus, I think you've got to be at least a member for 90 days. But I'm telling you, just save even more money and just do it for the year. $2.99 for the year. You're done. And all you have to do is definitely 4 times and probably golf 3 times. And if you drink beer like me, it's 15% off of everything at Civlik. So, man, I can almost make my money back at one bar city. But that's, man, I love Whirlwind. Just wanted to let you know how awesome the Whirlwind Plus program works out to be. So Cardinals getting over to the Wigwam now, basically, like right when you're listening, they might be filing in to the Wigwam. Check-in and everything and reporting to camp is tomorrow. Practice starts Wednesday. First open practice for fans is Thursday. So Town Hall Tuesdays tomorrow. I would love it if anybody that participates in Town Hall Tuesday, like some of the letters and notes have already been written. You know, you sent me stuff during the week and I got a lot to read for tomorrow. But if you are someone that's a Cardinals fan or you're a football fan, please throw in, like, make your points on any other topic, but throw in a Cardinals question for tomorrow. It would be a good way to kind of start covering the Cardinals with any questions that you've got for the upcoming season. Just throw it into Town Hall Tuesday for tomorrow. By the way, off the record, like, keep this between you and I, but 12 News put in a credential request for me, and the Cardinals still denied it. I get a kick out of it that they're that threatened by me. I do. So, therefore, keep listening to Unplugged because you know you've got you're listening to the one guy that the Cardinals are afraid of. They don't have any problem giving credentials galore to everybody at the old station. Why? Because they don't have to answer hard questions for them. But me, no, can't give me one. I am entertained by that. NFL news. I'm not getting into the political side of things, but something that you should know. Washington, D.C., when it was founded as the capital, was the dead middle of the country because, you know, the western border of Pennsylvania was the extent of the country into the west. So that was the middle of the country. But the founding fathers did not want a fight to break out between the federal government and a state government. So imagine if you kept the capital in, say, Philadelphia or New York, and the New York mayor or the New York governor issues an edict that now dramatically affects Congress on how they get to work, or people get arrested for violating a state law of New York when it's not a law anywhere. You know, there's just too many cooks could be in that kitchen. So they decided we want the capital to be its own federal city and not subject to anything to do with a state. So the way things work now is DC has its own mayor, it has its own commissioners, it has its own representatives in the city government. But the actual purse strings are still controlled by Congress. The purse, the money is, and the city financially is still run by the federal government. Well, Donald Trump does not control technically any purse strings. That's the House of Representatives. However, he can influence anybody he wants. And he has direct influence on the House of Representatives, considering every president since the beginning of time is considered the leader of the political party that he represents. And since the House right now is controlled by Republicans, that's where his influence comes from. And this is why this is important. He has said that the agreement between the Washington Commanders football team and DC to build a new stadium on the site of the old RFK should be contingent on the Commanders changing their name back to the Redskins. So far, since he said that, the Commanders and the NFL have had no comment about it. Now, if you don't know your geography, go by, if you've seen Capitol Hill, you've seen all the pictures of the Capitol, basically behind the Capitol, but specifically east of the Capitol, is the Supreme Court. And then I would have to do the math, but I would guess about 1.5 miles, maybe 2 miles. 2 miles east of that is RFK. So RFK is about 2 miles east of the Capitol. Well, that's where the Commanders want to build a new stadium. DC wants it to happen because then that taxpayer money of people going to the game stops going to Virginia, where Washington plays right now, and would go back into the district. It's also kind of a dilapidated area. Both the stadium's, run down and old, but the whole area is pretty horrible. So to be able to rebuild that area surrounding the Commanders would be, if you believe in stadium construction being an economic driver. That's another debate that's also political. But if you believe that, this would be an amazing opportunity for DC. But the Trump's comments make this very interesting. And then you get into the game, okay, is Trump full of crap and he's just throwing stuff on the wall to be ridiculous, or is he serious about it? And that's the way to get this through, because then you really put it on the new owner, Josh Harris, to sit there and say, okay, do I really want to go into the political battle I'm about ready to walk into if I change the name back? And then what kind of money do you lose from sponsors who stop sponsoring you for doing it? However, you got to get that stadium built. I mean, you have to. I think he's bluffing, but I think it's an interesting football story that you needed to know about. Let's talk the Open Championship. It's amazing. Scotty Scheffler, number one, what an incredible person, let alone, arguably the third greatest golfer of all time. That might be a little bit of recency bias. I might want to wait before I say that, considering some of the other greats of all time. But this is just getting absurd. Shoots a 3 under 68, 17 under for the tournament. And I believe it was his second round, went from a cold day at the beginning and cloudy, tiny bit of sun, then a deluge, and then it ended sunny again. And he was doing fine all the way through. He became the fourth Open champion in the history of the tournament. They've had 153 Opens. He became only the fourth to shoot a 68 or less in all 3 rounds. He's the first golfer in history to ever win his first 4 majors all by at least 3 shots. Now, what does that mean? Obviously, there's very few people that have won 4 or more majors. I'm going to ballpark it at about 20. I'm going to say about 20 people have won 4 or more majors. Scotty Scheffler is the only one who's won all 4 by at least 3 strokes, meaning some guys, barely won. That's not a knock. You're still the winner, but it shows you his level of dominance. And here's another one when it comes to dominance. 11 straight wins when he's led after 54 holes. Now, what does that mean? You play on Thursday, you play on Friday, you play on Saturday. You're done with your round on Saturday. You go to bed as the leader. So you are leading a major. You go to bed thinking about it. You go to bed worried about not choking. You have a hard time sleeping because you might get ahead of yourself and start thinking about winning. And most importantly, nobody else is sleeping with the pressure of leading. They're all thinking, I got to get up and I'm taking on Scotty Scheffler. I know who my target is. Here I go. And 11 straight times he's never lost a tournament when he's had the Sunday lead at the start of his round. That's just so unheard of. And it's so demoralizing to everybody else. And yet he said something earlier in the week that was kind of interesting. And it was about, listen, if I win this, it's going to be great. I'm going to be excited for 2 minutes. And then, hey, it's time to move on to the next thing. And a lot of people in Britain took that kind of the wrong way. They took it like it's not important enough to be excited for more than 2 minutes. And somebody asked him, hey, since you said that, how do you mean that now? Do you think you'll allow yourself to enjoy it for more than 2 minutes? And boy, did he handle this well.
Yeah, I mean, I think we live now in a day and age of where, clickbait is kind of what people look for, and you can shorten a 5-minute clip into, 3 words. I think really underestimates what I was trying to communicate. Maybe I didn't do as effective of a job of what I would have hoped to in communicating that. But, at the end of the day, I have a tremendous amount of gratitude towards moments like these. I've literally worked my entire life to become somewhat good at this game, to be able to play this game for a living, and it's one of the great joys of my life being able to compete out here and to be able to win the Open Championship here at Portrush is a feeling that's really hard to describe. I'm very fortunate to be able to come out here and live out my dreams. I grew up a kid in Texas that wanted to play professional golf. I grew up wearing pants to the golf course because that's what I wanted to do. I saw professional golfers like Justin Leonard, Harrison Frazier, those types of guys on TV wearing pants, and I was like, I want to be like those guys. So I used to wear pants to grow up to play golf, and it'd be 100 degrees out. I'd be way too hot. People would make fun of me, but that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a professional golfer, so I wore pants. And I don't know why I'm so lucky that I get to live out my dreams, but it's something that I'm very grateful for. And so if somebody's going to listen to the comments I had this week, I would encourage them to listen to all of it. And hopefully I did a good job of communicating that, yeah, this is amazing to win the Open Championship. But at the end of the day, having success in life, whether it be in golf or work or whatever it is, that's not what fulfills the deepest desires of your heart. Am I grateful for it? Do I enjoy it? Oh my gosh, yeah, this is a cool feeling. I can't wait to get home and celebrate this championship, with the people that have kind of helped me along the way. But at the end of the day, it doesn't fulfill the deepest desires of my heart. And but it's just tough to describe when you haven't lived it. Something I actually talked to Shane about this week was, just because you win a golf tournament or accomplish something, it doesn't make you happy. It doesn't. Maybe for a few moments, maybe for a few days, but at the end of the day, there's more to life than playing golf. But I'm pretty excited to go home and celebrate this one.
So funny because so many people in the media and some fans too, they don't know how to accept Scottie Scheffler. They don't know how to accept a guy who takes deep joy and fulfillment in his religion and in his wife and in his child, and gets the fulfillment there. Still, on top of it, has a competitive fire to do whatever it takes within the rules to win. Wants to outwork everybody so he's prepared for everything. And is thrilled by the competition during the competition. But then when the competition's over, that was his point. It's over. I've won. Great. That's what I wanted. It's what I'm fighting for. That's why I put my heart and soul into this business. Yet, it doesn't do for me what Jesus does. I mean, that's who he is. I'm not trying to, I've always said this to you when I talk religion. I'm never trying to dump my religion on you. But that's what Scottie was talking about earlier in the week. That it's his family, it's his religion, it's his family. That's what drives him. And golf is a distant third. But it doesn't mean his heart and soul is not into golf. He says, I just stay present. When I'm golfing, I'm focused on nothing but golf. When I'm practicing, I'm focused on golf. When I'm working out, I'm focused on golf. But when I've done the things I need to do, then I'm dad. Then I'm husband. Then I'm religious. And that's his fulfillment. And yet says, I know how lucky I am to be able to live out my dreams, but this is not a fluke. And I couldn't help. It's not a shot at Liv, but I couldn't help but laugh. Liv's allowed to wear shorts, which I think go ahead and wear shorts. But I've never heard of that story in my life. I wore pants when it was 100 degrees because Justin Leonard wore pants. Wow. How interesting is that? What a dude. What a role model. To be thankful and appreciative and driven all at the same time. Wow. He was asked about walking up 18 because, the Masters is the Masters. The reason why we love the Masters is because guess what? Every year it's at Augusta. So if you're like not really a golfer, but you're nice enough to indulge me and you keep listening when I talk golf, the thing about the Masters is anybody who watches golf feels like they know the course because every year the Masters is at the same. It's the only major that it's at the same place every year. So you know the course and you love the course and its beauty and it's gorgeous. And no, I've been to Augusta. I've never been inside the walls of Augusta National. So you've got Augusta. Then you've got the PGA Championship, the next major, which is just kind of like, okay, somebody says it's a major and there's a lot of money on the line. And their cool tagline is it's the only major where only professionals play. So you're beating professionals. Well, okay, great. Do I really care that there's 8 amateurs in a different event? I don't care. If I won, I won. But that's their calling card is the PGA is the only tournament where it's only professional. Then there's the US Open. Famous as the toughest test of golf, really, because of the rough, because of the speed of the greens and blah, blah, blah. But what makes the Open Championship so special, not only is it the longest running tournament, 153 times they've participated, only stopped for World War II and then the ridiculous stopping of it in COVID. But that's it. And the amount of different shots that you normally have to hit because of the wind and the creativity and things like that. And the fact that the golf course in links golf is just, hey, here's the land that we were given. We're not going to run bulldozers all over the place. We're going to change the grass. We're going to make sure it's golf grass that grows. But we're just going to lay the course on this ground. And if it's got a bunch of bumps in it, so what? Deal with it. Not our fault that your ball rolled a weird way. That's golf. But anyway, the reason why I brought this up, the walk at the Open is different than any place else because they have the 2 huge yellow scoreboards on each side of 18. And it's always this enormous, perfect horseshoe of stands. Almost every other tournament you play in, there is either a set of suites set up for dignitaries and wealthy people, or there is an amphitheater-like setting with a recessed green and a hillside and stands and small stands here or there, things like that. At the Open, it's just perfect U-shaped stadium that doesn't hold everybody there. I mean, there's a lot more people on the ground. But it's this perfect walk into this U-shaped area. And then people start filing in behind you if you're the last one up. So this walk is so different than any other walk. And then to be able to experience it with the lead, Scotty was asked about what is considered to be the most famous walk in golf, up to 18 with the lead at the Open.
It's a very cool walk. It's a very special walk. To be honest with you, walking up 18, I didn't really know if I was going to get that much support from the crowd. The crowd, I think, wanted somebody else to win this week, and I kind of got to play spoiler a little bit, which is fun as well. But it really was. It was a great reception. I heard a lot of the fans supporting me out there today. it was a really cool environment to be able to play in. You had a lot of guys out there supporting, the local favorites, and then you had some people from the States coming out and supporting us, and it was a really interesting day, but it really was a lot of fun.
I'm sure this takes a while to sink in, but you start to appreciate what you accomplished as you're heading up there?
I think so. I mean, being able to walk up 18 with the tournament in hand is a really tough thing to describe. It's a really cool feeling. I have a lot of gratitude towards being able to accomplish something like this. It's taken a lot of work, and not only a lot of work, but it takes a lot of patience. And I mean, it's a high level of focus over 72 holes of a tournament. And this was, I felt like one of my best performances mentally. We did a really good job of staying in it all week. Like I said, to only have one double, or really only one over par hole over the last 36 holes of a major championship is, that's how you're able to win these tournaments, just being able to do stuff like that. And it takes a high level of focus. And, Teddy and I did a really good job this weekend of being committed to what we're doing and, holding some key putts when I needed them.
I don't know how you feel about golf and majors and the coverage I give to golf here on Unplugged, but I just think when people like that win, it's really good to celebrate it. Not only is he just a great golfer, but when you're that good of a person, I just want to give people like that the opportunity for all of us to look at them as people and to be able to say, the good guy won there. And I don't say that as if to put them on a pedestal just to knock them down later. I say that because I think we need more Scotty Schefflers in sports in general. And it's my job to cover everybody, but I want to make sure that when the good people succeed, they don't get dismissed like they do in a lot of other forms of media because it's not sexy. I want to celebrate that. All right, coming up next, of course, versus Vegas, but just a little bit on the Suns. In the Summer League. The Suns did something in their last Summer League game that bugged me a lot. It's next. It's Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass.
Here is Sue Rigler on starting 100 Mile Brewing Company.
What started 100 Mile Brewing Company is I actually have a degree in microbiology from ASU. Go Devils. And went back to school. I found out that UC San Diego had a brewing program, so I enrolled in that. And with the intention of opening a brewery, I came back to Tempe because it's Sun Devil country. I wanted to open a brewery in Tempe, which fresh, it never gets old is our tagline. And I'm pretty much a stickler about fresh beer. It's got to be fresh. Otherwise, it's not going to be served here.
Suns won their first game in the NBA Summer League. Then they lost 3 straight games. And then they just won the other day, I think it was Saturday, if I'm not mistaken, against Portland. And there's one thing, the only reason why I'm bringing up the Suns, there's one thing that they did that really bothered me. I still love the pitch of Common Malawach. Okay, I really believe in this young man. He is incredibly young. And I have been told forever that you've got to allow big men a long time to develop. It's not something that's really, really quick. Well, he turns 19 in the middle of September. 19. That's how young he is. He's only 8, in case you couldn't do the math, he's only 18 now. So it's going to take a while. However, not a while, but it's not, he's not ready as a totally finished product or anything like that. That's the disclaimer before I tell you what I thought about him in the Summer League. His footwork right now isn't as good as I thought it was. I watched all of his games at Duke. I don't know why I didn't notice it. I don't know if it's the more elevated competition. I don't know what it was. but it's just not exactly where I want it to be, which is, on the one hand, totally fine. I'm not complaining. I'm not blasting the pick. I'm still the mayor of Malawatch Town, okay? But here's my beef. Why didn't he play Saturday? Ryan Dunn fell in game 4 of the Summer League, fell on his ankle, sprained his ankle, yet he's still such a gamer. He finished the game. He wasn't coming out. But the Suns held him out of the last game like, listen, dude, you're a second-year player in the Summer League. You've done enough. You're good. Oso Ighodaro, there's still some elements to his game. He's got great vision as a passer, but he can sometimes be a turnover machine where he doesn't quite either pass it hard enough or doesn't understand the risk to reward of certain passes, but he sees things well. And if you don't even see it, then we're not even talking about it. But he still needs to be a little more refined. But he's a gamer as a hustler. There are so many things to like about his game. Kobe Brea was even better than advertised. Shot the pro 3 ball like it was nothing and showed a little bit of heart and soul and hustle and did a lot more than you'd think, but he sprained his thumb. Go ahead and sit out. So the fact that Dunn, Ighodaro, and Kobe Brea sat doesn't even fine, whatever. Like there's only positive opinions about that. But Malawatch was not hurt and needed the competition, needs more, needs to work on his footwork more. It became apparent the way to defend him is when he's got the ball out on the perimeter to attack him. He's not a good enough ball handler yet. He handles the ball like a big, like the old school center. It's easy to strip him. Not as easy as it was to take the ball from DeAndre Ayton, but it was easy. And I don't understand why he didn't play. I think that's a really bad decision. I mean, I know the real reason. Okay, you've played here 4 games. Let's go ahead and sit you so we make sure that you don't get hurt. We expect a lot from you this year. Okay, yes. But that goes into the category of somebody can get hurt walking across the street. I mean, I get it. Brea and Dunn are already a little banged up. I get it. The risk to reward for Ighodaro isn't that great. He's doing fine. We'll wait till the season. But the idea that Malawatch, the risk to reward for him, no. Of course there's risk, but the reward is greater. That young man needs competition at a higher level. That young man has things that he needs to work on. And I don't think that was a good decision to give him the day off. I hope you didn't hear that and think I'm telling you Malawatch is terrible or I'm backtracking on anything I said about him before the draft. Really happy he's here. Huge amount of confidence that he's going to be an excellent ball player. But boy, somebody in his camp or the Suns, spend some money. Give Akeem Olajuwon a couple bucks. Olajuwon is one of the best trainers of big men, and there's so many similarities. They're from 2 different countries. Okay, Olajuwon is Nigerian, and Malawatch is from South Sudan. But they both grew up playing soccer. They were both late to basketball. And with the soccer aspect, Akeem Olajuwon, he was basically just a dunker at Houston. And worked, when I say at Houston, at the University of Houston, and then worked so hard on his game. Became the most lethal post player. It's hard to say because Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's main move was the skyhook, and it worked so well, maybe he's the most lethal post player of all time. Obviously, the amount of points that were scored, Wilt Chamberlain, you've got an argument there. Karl Malone, even Kevin McHale, Wes Unseld. But I'm probably going to take Akeem Olajuwon as the deadliest post player in the history of the game because of so many moves. And it was because of his fantastic footwork. And now I want Malawatch to have that. And he's going to work on it. He'll have trainers. No. Spend a couple bucks and every summer learn from Hakeem Olajuwon. It's time for... Oh, I'm not dancing. I forgot. It's been a week. Yeah, there's definitely going to be no dancing. Yep. 2-4 was the last Friday. It's been a week, but last Friday I went 2-4. Did well with my prediction on the Suns winning their opening game in the Summer League. They were a +7. I didn't have the courage to take them on the money line, but they almost won by 20, so I crushed that one. And then we did well picking San Diego plus the 5.5 against the not the Rising, but the Rattlers. But I got every other game wrong. Went 2-4. I couldn't believe this, but today I actually have 7 games in Major League Baseball. And I like them all a lot. Not just a little. I like them all a lot. My theory is travel is hard. And when the home team already had, if it's part of a homestand, they didn't travel home and you traveled there, you're at a tremendous disadvantage in game 1 of the series. And in all of these games I'm looking at, there's a long travel issue. It wasn't a short trip. And the pitching matchup favors the home team. I couldn't believe it, how well this works out. So here's my games. I got Atlanta, the Braves on the money line against the Giants. Okay, that's game number 1. Reason why I'm doing that is the Giants left Canada. So you're flying, you got to go through customs, and you fly all the way to Atlanta from Toronto for a game. So we'll take the Braves. I got the Cleveland Guardians on the money line against Baltimore. Baltimore was at Tampa, and they had to fly all the way to Cleveland, while Cleveland was already home. That's a lot. We'll take the old tribe on the money line. Tampa Bay minus the 1.5. I have them covering the run line because it's a little out of whack to take them on the money line. White Sox had to travel from Pittsburgh down to Tampa. Tampa was already home. Take the Philadelphia Phillies minus the 1.5 against Boston. Red Sox were on the road at the Cubs and then flew to Philly. Not an easy flight, not a hard flight, but not an easy flight. But also Philadelphia was already home against the Angels and got blown out by the Angels. Angels aren't good enough to blow anybody out. So the Phillies are going to be mad and they're home taking on Boston. But the Phillies are so favored that it wouldn't have made sense. It would have been bad juice to take them on the money line. So we'll take them minus the 1.5. Got the Cubs on the money line against the Royals. Cubs were home against Boston, as I said. Royals were at Miami, and they had to fly all the way to Wrigley. Miami to Chicago, not easy. And the Cubs are hot. We'll take the Cubs on the money line. Rangers, same thing. The Philadelphia, Kansas City, Oakland, Sacramento A's are they flew into Texas last night from Cleveland. Again, Cleveland to Dallas, not a simple flight. And while the Rangers were already home, now granted the Rangers did play Sunday Night Baseball, but they didn't blow their bullpen at all. We'll take Texas on the money line against the A's. And lastly, the Milwaukee Brewers are fire right now, okay? They're absolutely on fire. 10-game winning streak. Well, that's exactly why the winning streak has to end at some point. And yesterday, Milwaukee was playing against the Dodgers, and they flew up to Seattle while Seattle was at home. And even though they got shelled by the Astros, they only used 2 relievers, and it wasn't high-leverage relievers. And Brandon Woodruff, who's fantastic, is going for the Brewers, but I guarantee you he's still on a little bit of a pitch count. And I mean like 6 innings tops, 5 innings, something like that. So I like Seattle in this one on the money line against Milwaukee. And that's 7 games. So Braves, Cleveland. Cubs, Rangers, Seattle all winning on the money line, and the Rays and Phillies covering the run line. Busy day for me, but I like those games. I like those games a lot. That does it for today's version of Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. Go to whirlwindgolf.com. Jump on the opportunity to be a Whirlwind Plus member. Best sandwich in the history of the state of Arizona is the Nashville Hot Chicken Sandwich. I'm hopefully going to be there on Wednesday. Parker & Sons, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical, 6022 Repair. That's 602, the number 2, then REPAIR for Parker & Sons. Burrito Express, the best breakfast burrito you've ever had. They also have lunch, too. They're open till about 3 o'clock, so you can always get dinner to go there as well. And they're at your local, at a lot of Circle K's throughout the area. 100 Mile Brewing Company is right where the 202 Rural and Scottsdale Road all come together, just north of Tempe Town Lake in Tempe. Best beer in the history of the state of Arizona is the A Mountain Amber Ale, and they've got the third best cheese curds in the country. Third best. Then there's 2 places in Milwaukee that are a little better. Trophy has the greatest rigatoni of any sports bar in the history of the world. Can't really say I've had rigatoni anywhere else, though. So I might be a little skewed on that one. The other ones are fact. This one is, well, I've only had rigatoni at one place, but gosh, it's really good. Trophy's in the Ocotillo Shopping Center in Chandler, and I think you're just going to have a great time going there. It's a smaller bar, but it makes it so much easier to see every television. There's literally no bad angle to see a game at Trophy. That is such an incredibly designed sports bar. And the atmosphere in there when there's a good game on is absolutely awesome. I think you're going to love going to Trophy in Chandler. If you want more of Doug Franz Unplugged, you can get it on the Discord channel. Please go in there, chat us up, join the conversation, and there's a discussion point, a hashtag for Town Hall Tuesday if you want to ask your questions there. You can always email me your questions for Town Hall Tuesday, Doug at DougFranzUnplugged.com, or post something to me on Twitter at UnpluggedDoug or at Doug Franz Unplugged on Instagram. And starting to make the move a little bit to YouTube, so if you could find me on YouTube at Doug Franz Unplugged, I would really appreciate that as well. Boy, I'm tired. Oh, and I forgot what to tell you. Oh, man, I thought I had another 30 seconds, Al. All right. Good night. I'll see you tomorrow.
Doug, thank you so much. My best to your listeners, and keep up the work on Doug Franz Unplugged.